Breakfast.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The best ideas are free with Ben Young from Bwaggy.com.
Put the Guinness down, Ben. It's time to talk on the radio.
That was very kind of them to drop in again.
It was very nice, isn't it?
It was your breakfast, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, essentially so far. Yeah, yeah.
Dear.
But nice to see you. Not on a Monday in the middle of the week because you've had a very busy week.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No,
business
fine.
is really busy at the moment.
Yeah, which is good. This is great.
Yeah,
Good
really
news.
good. We're still averaging 20% growth a month.
No double dip for Young and Shand.
It's double work.
Yeah.
No matter the economy, you just have to work really hard, work smarter, work faster.
Yep.
Just keep at it.
Yeah, exactly. What a positive, upbeat attitude.
Yeah, well, that's all you can do. Like, you can't control the macro effect.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, that also translates into our topic.
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
Beating the traffic.
The topic of today's one is how to beat the traffic.
What type of traffic?
So, the traffic to work.
Oh,
So,
literally.
Yeah,
the
literally
okay.
the traffic.
Yeah,
So,
we're not talking about internet traffic or...
No.
Okay.
Although there's lots of issues there. But
yeah.
how to beat the traffic. So, the interesting thing when you read Malcolm Gladwell, Seth Godin, and people like Tom Peters, is the analogies that they bring to real life.
Yeah.
And how impactful those can be.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the interesting things, well, at least I think is interesting, I think I'm quite the geek, is over the last few years looking at how we can pull models into our personal lives. One of them is how to beat the traffic. And what I've noticed is, now I live in Freeman's Bay near Victoria Park, and our office is in Parnell.
Downtown Auckland, people.
Yeah, downtown Auckland. And so I'm always driving across the CBD, which is probably the worst thing you can do because it's the shortest distance, and it's a distance which is always congested.
It has the most intersections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the most problems with just everyone wanting to do the same thing.
And with all the upgrades for Rugby World Cup, there's been ongoing roadworks for the past 2 years, and they're going to go all the way right up to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed is, if I leave home at 7, if I walk out the door at 7, it takes me 20 minutes to get to the office. If I leave home at 7:20, it takes me 8 to 9 minutes. If I leave home at 7:30, it takes me 20 minutes.
Interesting.
If I leave home at 8, it takes me 30 minutes.
Wow.
And so I was like, what's going on here? And then I was kind of backtracking, and I was thinking about, what time people set their alarms.
Yeah, it comes down to alarms, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so if you imagine, most of us would set our alarms at 6:30, 6:45, 7, 7:15, 7:30, and usually in those 15-minute allotments.
Or if you're weird like me, you set it 1 minute past the hour. Just to get that extra 1 minute in, you know? I need it.
And so what my theory was that if the bulk of people are setting them on the hour or on the half hour, which they probably are, like 6:30, 7, that means at each of those alarm times there's a peak traffic generated by those people, and just in a bell curve distribution.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if, let's say, 20,000 people get up at 7:30, there'll be an average time which most of them are out on the road.
Yeah, and you see this. You actually, if you're a routine person and you're always travelling to work at the same time, you will see the same cars, the same people walking along the road.
Exactly.
The same delivery man everywhere. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So everyone's experiencing the same thing together.
Yeah.
And so the way to beat that traffic, I say, is to get up at obscure times. So get up at 6:37.
That's not very fun.
7:12. Well, just plus or minus your regular time by 8 or 7, 8, 9, 13 minutes to an obscure time. So that means when you leave the house, you should be leaving slightly in between the bell curves, which means that you get a nice run through to work.
But you're either getting there earlier or slightly later, though, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got to weigh that up.
Yeah.
And
isn't the problem, though, to factor in that most people turn up, they want to turn up bang on the dot. They don't want to be there any earlier. They don't even want to be there 5 minutes earlier. They just want to be, if they start work at 8, they'll walk in the door at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so then you're in a line with everyone else and you are going to hit the traffic.
Yeah.
So I think it's a worthwhile compromise, especially when you look at the differences in time. If you can spend 10 minutes to get to work versus 20, go in a little bit earlier and leave a bit earlier. Like, who wants to spend their life in traffic?
Now, radio for years has provided these traffic services. Even here on Kiwi for Auckland audiences, we have the traffic report that goes on during the ad breaks. So there's those have always been there to talk about congestion. But what about actual devices and technology that you can use?
In terms of beating congestion?
Yeah.
In the States, Google actually has integrated traffic flows into Google Maps. So you can see how congested it is in certain places. That technology isn't here yet.
Because what does it need? Because we've got the devices that can do it, but it needs the information to go into the system, doesn't it?
I think it's just investment in bringing the system across.
But isn't it crowdsourced? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't it detect how fast people are going? If people have their GPS on their devices and they're plugged into Google Latitude or something, it will detect that they've slowed down at a certain point. Therefore, it will warn other people around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is how it works, I think, and it could be working here today. I just think they haven't put the investment in to get it working here.
Okay.
It is frustrating being in traffic.
Yeah.
And,
and
that's just one little thing which makes a big impact. I've noticed that myself, and I've noticed it for quite some time. I noticed it when I was at university with the same thing, turning up at certain times, trying to get on bus at the same time.
And the government quantifies it, doesn't it? They put it into dollar terms, the wasted hours and resources spent in traffic. Something
really interesting, well, at least again I find interesting, is if I go into the office super early at like 5:30 or 5:45 or about 6, I see more supercars in Auckland City than I do at any other time.
Yeah?
So I see Bentleys, I see Aston Martins, I see Ferraris, I see Lamborghinis, there's a couple of Rolls Royces.
What's that telling you?
And there's the old adage that basically early bird gets the worm, and a lot of the to be successful books talk about being the first person in the office.
So I can see this. So at a big workplace, the first car that turns up is an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And the last car is a Datsun. No, Dunga, is that what you're saying?
And that's why your boss is leaving at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because he's been there so early.
Wow, there's some lessons in that. Really cool. Well, go and check out more Ben Young at bwaggy.com, bwaggy.com, and continue the conversation on Twitter as well, twitter.com/bwaggy. We'll see you next, what was it, Monday?
Yeah, it should be Monday, back to Monday.
Alrighty.
Excellent.